Hello, it's Christine Faulkner with Cava and Faulkner, Elk Grove Living Trust lawyer, Sacramento estate attorney. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Daily with Christine. And I love our nasturtiums. I always like to get the picture of those beautiful flowers in the background. So today we're going to have a quick and dirty video about some specific language that we can include in your trust plan when you are creating dynasty trusts for your beneficiaries. So if you want to create asset trusts for your children or beneficiaries, this is for you, because this is a special provision that we can include that will really help even further seal the deal to protect the assets that you're leaving for the people that you love, for your beneficiaries or kids, whoever they might be. So let's get started. So why do people create dynasty trusts? They create dynasty trusts because they want to make sure that the assets that they leave for their beneficiaries, which are usually their kids, but sometimes it's other people, are protected from their children's creditors or their beneficiaries' creditors. And so we can create what are called lifetime asset protection trusts for those people. Those are irrevocable trusts, and so that means that they cannot be changed, which is a good thing. You don't want your beneficiaries to be able to change the trust that you created for them. But I wanted to tell you really quickly about this one provision that you can include, which is especially important if you have young children and you're creating a plan and you really have no idea how they're going to develop, what kind of level of responsibility they will ultimately develop in their life. So we can incorporate, well, a couple of provisions that might be of interest to you. One of them we call blocking. And so it's a provision that basically says, well, ultimately your children will become trustees of their own trusts at some point, but if they were to have a drug, alcohol, gambling problem, or in a cult, I know that that sounds pretty crazy, but it's been known to happen, are in the midst of a acrimonious or highly litigated divorce, that they can be removed as the trustee of the trust until such time as they have been restored to their former selves with either out of litigation, or if they've got a dependency type of an issue, until that has been resolved. So there's actually a mechanism within the trust that allows another trustee to step in if they see that's happening, to prevent your beneficiaries or your children from basically being a spendthrift and you going through all of that money to feed their habit, or to potentially be willing to access that money during a contentious divorce to get their soon-to-be ex off their back. So we have this provision that we can include in the planning that basically enables another trustee to step in and sort of wrest control away from that beneficiary until such time as the problem is resolved. And it's a pretty handy little tool. Many parents that I deal with really like the ability to include that because it provides an extra safety net just in case. If you've got older children already, then you may feel like this isn't necessary because you've already kind of seen how they are developing and you like what you see, so that's great. But once again, you never know. Your children can have creditor issues for reasons outside of themselves, including their spouse. If they're married, their spouse could be racking up debt that they don't even know about, which they're responsible for here in California under the community property laws. So one other thing I wanted to tell you about real quickly is the ability to require your children to sign a prenuptial in order to stay on or be the trustee of their own trust share. And that gives you even another layer of protection. Some pros and cons to that. You know, in California, prenuptials are pretty hard to enforce. Really important that each party has their own counsel, their own lawyer to represent them in drafting that prenuptial. And of course, it can be a little uncomfortable to require a child to ask that of a soon-to-be spouse. in order to stay on as the trustee of their own trust share. So there's definitely some pros and cons, but from the planning perspective, it does just add another layer of protection to make sure that your child's separate assets will always remain separate. So a little tidbit about further protecting your dynasty trust planning that you're creating for your beneficiaries or your lifetime asset protection trust planning. If this sounds good to you or you want to know more about it, please reach out. We're happy to help, give you whatever information we can. If you know you're ready to do some planning and this sounds like something you'd like to learn more about, reach out. We'll to walk you through getting on our schedule, getting on the calendar so that we can meet and kind of go over what your personal needs are. Thanks so much again for tuning in to another edition of The Daily with Christine, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.